Hello everyone. Yeah, welcome back to our YouTube channel and welcome back to our HTML focus series. So in today's video, we are going to look at our HTML elements and attributes. But we are not going to jump into that without knowing what HTML tag is. What are HTML tags? HTML tags are just keywords on your web page that helps your browser or web browser to structure and display the web page the way you want it. It depends the tags you are using, and these tags mainly starts with opening and closing. It mainly has an opening type and a closing type, but not all the tag has a closing type and opening tag. Let's say, for example, you can see your title tag here has the opening and the closing. The closing tag is the one that is preceded by a /. Then your head tag also have the opening here and closing here. With the one that is closing is always the one preceded by a /. But your tags, like your P, is just a kind of an empty tag, or you call them empty element, not a void element, because they don't have closing tag. You have your HR. Your BR is your break rule and your HR is your horizontal rule. So that's just your BR. You can also call your BR breakpoint because it breaks. For example, you are writing something on a paragraph with your P tag. Yeah, paragraph is denoted with P tag and it has a closing tag that is preceded by a /. So these are tags. Like I can say that tag helps your web browser to structure and display your web page the way you want your web page to be. They are just keywords on your web page. So let's look at HTML elements. So I can say that the HTML element is defined by a start tag, some content, and an end tag, meaning that there must be a tag in the HTML element. That means the tag is what makes up HTML elements. It starts with a tag and ends with a tag, and it starts with a opening tag and ends with a closing tag, and it must have a content that goes between it. If it doesn't have the content that goes between it, you can call them empty element or void element or null element. Like I said here, that the HTML element is separating from the start tag to the end tag. For example, you have your H1. Let's say you have your H1. You can claim this. Let's say we have your H1. I can say that this is heading 1. So this is a typical example of HTML element, because it has a opening tag and a close tag, and it has some content in between it, meaning that HTML element is anything that goes between the opening tag and the end tag, meaning that the two tag plus the content is what makes up the HTML element. So let's proceed with what we have. So you can see where I listed it. I said that start tag, you have your H1 start tag or the opening tag. You have the element by first setting. You have the end tag. This end tag is also known as your closing tag. The start tag is also known as your opening tag. So you have your paragraph tag. That's your first paragraph. You have the one that have a closing tag that is always preceded with /. So you have your PR. Element is none, end tag is none, meaning that it is an empty element because it has no content. Since it has no content, that means it has no end tag. Okay? Which makes it a empty element. Like I said, that some HTML elements have no content, like the PR, that's your breakpoint or break rule element. These elements are called empty elements. If you don't want to call them empty element, call them null element or void element. Empty element don't have a end tag or a closing tag. So that's just that for now. So let's look at what the web browser says. It says that the purpose of a web browser, like your Chrome, your Microsoft Edge, your Firefox, and your Safari, is to read HTML documents and display them correctly with the help of HTML tag. Because like I said before, the HTML tag are keywords that helps structure your web page and display it, because it adds the browser. Already it is a keyword on what your web page that helps the browser to do what structure and display your what web page the way you want it. Do you want the header to be more bolder than the body? You want the heading to be bolder? You want the paragraph to be smaller? With the help of what HTML tags, you can achieve that. So for this example, we say that the browser doesn't not display the HTML tag, or uses them to determine how to display what the document. Yes, HTML tag are just what else to what program what execution. Or this kind of thing in programming, what we call it is encapsulation. It tries to hide what the functional details of the code, thereby giving you only the result that you want to see. So you can see that the HTML tag can be shown on the browser, but it is used to determine how to display the word document. So that's how it works. So the next thing we have there, you can see how the typical HTML page structure goes like. You have your HTML tag that is always closed with what? HTML tag that comes first, and it has a closing tag which is preceded by /. You have your head tag, you have your title tag that also have a closed tag that is preceded by /. You have your body tag, you have your what? H1, there's your heading tag, you have your paragraph tag, and another paragraph. Okay, you have your what closing what tag for body. So let's look at HTML attributes. Since we have known a bit about what HTML tag, so let's look at HTML attributes. So I can say that the HTML attribute provides additional information about HTML elements. Okay? All HTML elements can have attributes. That's just the truth fact. And all HTML elements can have what? Attributes. Attributes provide additional information about elements. Attributes are always specified in the start tag. Attributes usually come in name or value pairs like name value. Okay? So let's look at one of the attributes we have, the href attribute. This href, the full meaning is what? Hypertext reference. That means it refers to a what? Hypertext what? Document. It references you to hypertext document, and a hypertext document is a what? A document on the web. That means it's a linked document. So let's see how the href works. They say that the anchor tag or a tag defines a hyperlink. Then the hypertext reference attribute, the href, specifies the URL of the page the link goes to. The URL is Uniform Resource Locator. That's the full meaning. So let's see how this hypertext reference works. You go back to your Visual Studio Code. Let's say we type our anchor tag, href. So remember, every attribute, if you want to add an attribute to a HTML element, the attribute must come in the opening tag. The attribute must come what? In the opening tag of that HTML element. So you add it on the opening tag and add equal to. You can see your inverted commas appear. So let's give a hypertext link. You can say that hyperlink. You can say HTTPS. Let's give it our website, Edenites Technologies.com. Okay? So what do we want to add? That whenever it's being clicked, and it will take us to this link. Okay? That's why you say this hypertext reference is trying to call a link from somewhere. Okay? So let's say visit our website now. Okay? So I save. So how do I execute? I go over to this document title bar. I right click and copy path. Okay? I go back to my web browser. So I go back to my web browser. And there's the path and the connect tag. So you can see that's the first thing we did, our heading 1. So that's the word link. That's our anchor tag with the word attribute href. So once you click on this link, it tends to take you to our official website. So let's try it. So wow, that's our official website, EdeniteTechnologies.com. So that's how your anchor tag works with the word attribute href. That's just how it works perfectly. So let's look at the other things there. So we have the source attribute. The source attribute is just used to call your image. You can say that the tag that is used for it is image. IMG is already the image tag. Then SRC is the word source attribute that is used to call your image. So I said that the IMG tag is used to embed an image in HTML page. Where the SRC attribute, that is the source, specifies the path towards the image to be displayed. The image you want to display, where is the path? And the case of SRC attributes, the source attribute is divided into two ways, because there are two ways that we specify the URL that is having the image. We have the absolute URL. That means the image is linked to an external image that is hosted on another website. For example, we hosted an image on Edenites Technologies. I want to be calling the image on our local work or local website. But we make sure that we are connected to the internet. But we are trying to call the image from an external link that is on another website. We use our absolute URL for the image. And how do you think that goes? See how we do that. For example, we click on visit our website. Okay. So we want to be calling this logo. Let's say we want to be calling this logo. So what we do is to inspect source. Please, as a developer, if you always inspect source, so we right click and click on inspect. We want to get the exact link of the logo. So we're almost there. So that's the thing. So that's it. When we hover, we try to copy the link. Okay. We click on the link. So we copy. So we go back to our code. Okay. We go back to our code. And now we want to call that image. We now say IMG. That's the image tag. The tag that used to embed an image into a HTML Word document. So we now add an attribute known as the source, the SRC attribute. Say equal to. Remember that image tag doesn't have a closing tag. Well, actually, it has a closing, it has an end, but it doesn't come with the word end tag. That doesn't make it an empty element. So some element without closing tag, but they actually has a closing, they are not empty elements. Okay, also bear that in mind. So image source, we now paste the link. We just copy it. So you can see the link we copied. So you can close. You can see that it has a closing. I see /close. That means it has a closing and it's not an empty word element, which means that not all element without end tag is an empty element. Okay, so we can only say that element that doesn't have any content in between them is a word empty element. That's just the definition. So we paste the link. So let's see whether what we paste works. Okay, so then the thing we do is to refresh our page. So since we are maintaining the same path, we go back to our web browser. On the same page, we click on enter. So you can see that the logo we called, that's just it, and it has appeared. So that's how absolute URL works. So we have another format of calling this image known as the word relative URL. It's just, it links to an image that is hosted within the website. Maybe you added an image, the image to a folder, or maybe you added an image to a desktop or anywhere. So you can just use a kind of a relative URL to call the image, because the image file is hosted within the website. So let's see how absolute URL works. So let's look at it. Let's say, for example, we save our logo on the location. Let's say we save our logo on desktop. Use a PNG file, save it on desktop. So we want to use an absolute URL to call this logo. So what we will do is we just come, since our logo is maintaining the same name. Let's say desktop. So let's say desktop. Okay. So we try to follow link to see whether they actually have it. So the image actually exists, but we are not right. So we are doing. So they want to call the image. So the first thing is to save this image to a folder. So let's say we save it folder. Let's just leave it on desktop. I say desktop. Let's see if I have the So we have gotten the link. So since this file is already existing in the desktop, we don't need to call desktop again. We just need to call the logo file. Okay. So we save and try to refresh our browser. Okay. So you can see that's our image file. Yeah. So if you actually want to know whether it's right, you right click and inspect. So I see that the location is right on desktop. That's the name of the file. So that's how the IMT attribute works. So let's look at the other attributes we have there. We have the width and height attribute that is used for image that specify the width and height of the word image. I will still add it. For example, the image we added, we want to specify the width and height. You can just say width equal to, and there are kind of 500. Maybe let's use 500. Then height equal to 50. So when we save this and reload our refresh our image, we just see that what the image on its own has reduced. So let's check on the image to see the effect. So you can see that the image has reduced because they have added the width and height attribute. So let's look at the next attribute we have is alt. It said that the required alt attribute for the image tag specify an alternate text for image. If the image for some reason cannot be displayed, this can be due to a slow connection or an error in the source attribute, maybe the error in linking where you are calling the image from, or if the user uses a voice screen reader. So that's what can make your image not to show. We also have the style attribute that is used to determine what the color, such as color, font, size, and more. So in the next video, we'll be learning more about HTML attributes and element parts. So thank you for watching this video. If you find this content useful, please do like, subscribe, comment, and share. See you on our next video, HTML elements and attributes part 2. Thank you.